Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And if you are watching me on LinkedIn today, heads up because this information directly relates to you. And this is a new ruling by the federal court. And I've got a lot of notes here, and I think this is absolutely fascinating. Now, a U.S. federal court on Monday, that is 2 days ago, ruled that scraping public data from a website without the website's authorization is not a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the CFAA. Now, basically, what this does is this limits the U.S. law for anti-hacking, and a lot of people have a bit of an issue with this. And here's what's happening. Here's what's going down. So the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit on Monday basically refused to overturn a preliminary injunction that required the professional networking site LinkedIn to allow talent management startup HiQ Labs to gather data from users' public profiles. Now, LinkedIn, that is owned by Microsoft, basically has installed technical safeguards to stop HiQ from scraping this data on the members until a court in 2017 actually ordered LinkedIn to stop blocking that automated collection by HiQ. LinkedIn obviously appealed and alleged that HiQ had broken the CFAA, among other things, by using LinkedIn data in a way that LinkedIn did not intend or obviously authorize. Now, HiQ, which is a startup based out of San Francisco, incorporates LinkedIn data into their software, and it sells it to employers to help determine whether they will be able to retain employees. In other words, they are looking through that LinkedIn data, and basically, let's say you're an employee of company X and you have posted on LinkedIn, or your public profile in some way, shape, or form indicates that you're very available for another job. HiQ is going to identify you to that potential employer. Now, this company, HiQ, had argued that it would face irreparable harm without this injunction, saying that it would need to cease business operations because essentially their entire model is to scrape LinkedIn data and then run analytics on it and sell it to employers. Now, here's what the judge said regarding this appeal that basically keeps HiQ alive, and I quote, "LinkedIn has no protected property interest in the data contributed by its users, as users retain ownership over their profiles. And as to the publicly available profiles, the users quite evidently intend them to be accessed by others." Now, I think this is actually interesting, and that statement, I think, speaks to a couple of different things that is going on here in the legal world. And if you are a legal eagle, I would love to hear from you on this. But here's the thing. If I am retaining ownership rights over my LinkedIn account, and I know there's a good chunk of you watching me on LinkedIn, then I'm wondering if Microsoft can give me tools to allow my profile to be public, but then safeguarded from data scraping to get around this rule. So in other words, they are putting the power back into my hands. Also, if I publish anything on LinkedIn, and if you've read any of my articles that are published on LinkedIn, I actually wrote those for another publisher, and then I just copied them over to here, and I have a link that says, go check out the original publisher on this, but technically that is my intellectual property that anybody can go ahead and read, even though those articles are a few years old. Obviously, my newer articles are in Forbes and Smerconish and all of that, but I think it's absolutely interesting on this because, if I'm looking at this, do I necessarily, want my data scraped, even though anybody can go in and read my profiles? I literally post daily videos and audio for stuff like this, not to mention articles and everything else that I do. And so I want people to find me. I want people to follow me. I want people to engage in conversation, become more aware about cybersecurity. But does that necessarily mean that I want my data analyzed to see if I'm willing to leave my job or not? Which obviously I'm not, but you get my point here. And so I'm curious to know where the balance is, and the vast majority of people, that are on LinkedIn are not like me in the sense that they want to be out there in the public presence beyond building that, business social network, that allows them either to find another job or communicate with colleagues across, different companies and all of that, possibly learn information, hopefully from somebody like me or ideally me, and stuff like that. And so I'm curious to know what you guys think about this, but it seems to me that if LinkedIn/Microsoft actually owns this platform, the space that I have there is the space they are giving me. And while I retain ownership over any intellectual property, aka the video you're watching right now or the article that I publish, LinkedIn or Microsoft can revoke my access at any time. Nick, we don't like you for whatever reason, and you're off our platform. There is no requirement that they host me in the same way that there's no requirement YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else hosts my information, and I'm actually surprised I still have a Facebook account given all the videos I've done. They haven't kicked me out, and I will give them credit for that. So I'm curious to know what you think, but to me this kind of seems like you've got one business literally building their entire brand, one, probably on their analytics engine, but two, on the ability to scrape data that other people have created. And quite frankly, they didn't have my authorization to get my information, but they obviously have it because it's on LinkedIn. Now, is that something that I simply give up by using LinkedIn, or can LinkedIn fight back and just give me and you and everybody else on LinkedIn a tool that basically says block HiQ or block that kind of scraping? I'm curious to see what you think, and what the possible solution would be, and actually what you think about this ruling. Is this a good thing? Are we literally lessening hacking laws by allowing companies to data scrape? Because the next HiQ can see this and say, oh, I'm not just going to scrape LinkedIn, I'm going to scrape every website on the planet, whatever that is. So I'm curious to know your thoughts, and that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.